טוב, סבבוני בכחש אפרים, פרק י"ב, הושע פרק י"ב. סבבוני בכחש אפרים, ובמרמה בית ישראל ויהודה, עוד רד עם אל ועם קדושים נאמן. אפרים רואה רוח, רודף קדים, כל היום כזב ושוד ירבה, וברית עם אשור יכרותו, ושמן למצרים יובא. וריב לאדוני עם יהודה, ולפקוד על יעקב תדרכיו, כמעלליו ישיב לו. Okay, guys, please hold on now. I want you guys to notice as we're reading the references that you hear to Yaakov Avinu. Okay? We already mentioned here, Ufkod al Yaakov kidrachav. We mentioned Yaakov. We don't usually talk about Yaakov, right? Babeten akav et achiv, uve'ono sara et Elohim. Vayashar el malach vayuchal. בכה ויתחנן לו, בית אל ימצאנו, ושם ידבר עמנו. ואדוני אלוהי הצבאות, אדוני זכרו. ואתה באלוהיך תשוב, חסד ומשפט שמור, וקווה. What does it say, you guys? קווה?
קווה.
What do you have under the vav?
2 dots.
Where are we?
What do you have? A segol?
Yes.
A segol, 3 dots or 2 dots?
2 dots.
קווה. I have 1 dot, and it's weird here the way it is. You have 2 dots as a tzere.
Yeah.
Next to each other.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess it's me. It's like it's not there. It makes sense. As it's my son's name also. V'kaveh el Elohecha tamid. Kna'an biyado moznei mirma la'ashok ahev. V'yomer Ephraim af asharti matzati onli. כל יגיעי לא ימצאו לי אבון אשר חטא. ואנוכי אדוני אלוהיך מארץ מצרים, עוד אושיבך באוהלים כימי מועד. ודיברתי על הנביאים ואנוכי חסון נרביתי, וביד הנביאים אדמה. אם גלעד אבן עכשיו היו בגלגל שברים זיבחו, גם מזבחותם כגלים על תלמי שדי. ויברח יעקב שדה ארם, ויעבוד ישראל באישה, ובאישה שמע. ומנביא העלה אדוני את ישראל ממצרים, ובנביא נשמר. יכעיס אפרים תמרורים את דמיו עליו יטוש, וחרפתו ישיב לו אדוניו. It's almost funny. I smile when I read it, because it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It's funny to read it. It's like it just doesn't make sense.
He retells. He retells like the story of
Yaakov and where? What's
like when he was born.
Good.
When he took away the birthright. I think that was referring with the Sal.
By the Sal, right? Vayashar el malach vayuchal vayashar, like Israel, right? Yashar el, right?
And he went to Beit El.
And he goes to Beit El. Okay, so. And then we have at the end again, right? Vayivrach Yaakov sde Aram. Pasuk Yudimo, right? Vayivrach Yaakov sde Aram. He runs away to Aram. Vayavod Yisrael beisha. Beisha nishmar, and he works for a wife. And in other words, Yaakov is very present in this chapter, and it's going to be an overlying theme of Yaakov and what is his position here, and why is he the reference in this chapter. Is something a little new in Hoshea. We have a new story here. Yaakov Avinu is going to be present here in some way. How exactly he's present and what's the point of him being present, this is going to be a machloket between the Parshanim. How important he is in seeing the whole chapter, even though we see him in the beginning, in the middle, and towards the end. Sort of interesting. It seems like he permeates the whole chapter. I'd even say, if you guys look at Pasuk Yud, Anochi Adonai Elohecha me'eretz Mitzrayim, first of all, it reminds you of the first Dibra, right? The first of the Seret Dibrot. Od of Shivcha be'ohalim kimei moed. Who sat be'ohalim? Who's in Ish Tam Yoshev Ohalim? Yaakov, right? So there are like all kinds of references here that you can hear about Yaakov Avinu throughout this chapter from the very beginning.
How is he referring to that? From where?
Where did I read that?
No. How did he come to that?
Well, we'll have to see. We have to again. It's ununderstandable to read it just like this. We have to try to figure it out as we go. That's why you guys have handouts today that are a little more intense than usual. Okay, we have the whole Malbim on the chapter. First of all, we have a lot of Rashi on the chapter, and at one point we went off to Ibn Ezra, Radak, and Al Sheikh just to go off on one little point. Ken, Beseder?
We missed it.
Shushan said only one font.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. Because I didn't put them by psukim either. That's why. Tov, yalla, let's go. So let's begin with one reading. Okay. Svavuni bechachash Ephraim, v'mirma Beit Yisrael, v'Yehuda odra dim'el v'im gdoshim ne'eman. On a basic understanding level, let's start off with Rashi. Svavuni says the Navi, Svavuni, they've surrounded me. Bekachash ubemirma Ephraim ubeit Yisrael. They're surrounded me in falsehoods and cheating. Ephraim and Beit Yisrael. Malchei aseret hashvatim v'chol ha'am. Everyone, the whole nation, they're all corrupt. Starting off with corruption. They're not yashar. Right? They are lying and cheating. The nation, the leaders, everyone. Aval Yehuda, he says here, Odenu rad im el, Moshel od birat Elohim, rad kmo vayerd mi Yaakov. Yarad, like Urdu, so he rules. So Yehuda od rad im el, they're still holding with Hashem. Okay? Od malchehem im HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rashi's pretty blunt. Okay? The kings of Judah are still holding on. In other words, here, the presentation, according to Rashi, is to delineate between Mamlechet Yisrael and Mamlechet Yehuda. Mamlechet Yisrael are off the derech, while Mamlechet Yehuda are okay. Now we've seen throughout Sefer Hoshea, I remind you, sometimes he said this way, and sometimes there was like these little bitings against Yehuda. So it's sort of weird. It's going to be even weirder when we see chapter.
But in general better. So they aren't as a big of attack. They don't get as a big of
at this point. At the point of Hoshea, historically when Hoshea is talking, Hoshea is talking in the time around Chizkiyahu's time, Yotam, time when it was generally good.
Some mistakes, but
Nachon, that's what it seems to be. In other words, he's playing them off each other. That's what it seems to be. He's playing them off each other. Hey, Ephraim, you're so bad. Yehuda, you're good. Ephraim ro'e ruach, rodef kadim, kol hayom kazav ashod yarbe, uvrit im ashur yichotu, v'shemen imitzrayim yuval. So this pasuk is more clear. They are ro'e ruach. So ro'e ruach, what does the word ro'e here mean? There are two possibilities. One is ro'e is like a shepherd. He's like a shepherd of wind. And he's chasing gusts, or kadim is the east wind, right? Kol hayom kazav v'shod yarbe. He is playing with nothingness, with nothing. He's playing with falsehoods. He's playing with lies. His whole world is all made up. It's all make believe. He's made up his gods, he's made up his kohanim, he's made his religion, he's made up his way he's working, he's made up his thought, he's made up his politics. Everything he does is all made up. He is off reality. No emet going on here. And remember, emet the Yaakov, right? Emet is Yaakov's midah. And here, the bikorat here is you guys are just completely off. You're following the winds. The nothing, right? Can you grasp the wind? Hold the wind. You can't hold the wind. You can't follow. It's all nothing. He actually talked about this, and there was a previous also example of this. Ubriti mashor yichrotu v'shemen lemitzrayim yuval. And here we have to stay in the political realm and saying, what does he do? He keeps thinking that if he just makes a brit with Ashur, everything will be okay. If I just bring some bribery to Mitzrayim, everything will be fine. This line of thinking is just so wrong. Ephraim can't grasp that Hashem is at the basis of everything. Remember last chapter we saw how Hashem tirgalti Ephraim, that I am your, as the Malbim explained, I am the thing you stand on. I am your legs. Right? He had that horrible or beautiful, or I don't know how to say it, the imagery of holding the idols in your hands, and Hashem says, I'm under your feet, holding you there. This seems to be the same. You keep thinking all these your politics, your academia, you're all thinking all the time of these things. It's all shtuyot. You don't understand that Hashem is the basis of living in this land, doing the Torah, following the Torah, understanding that things come from Hashem. You're just not there. And so this is one reading of what's going on here. Okay, that is the bikoret here is the whole mindset of Mamlechet Ephraim is all off. It's just off. In other words, once you remove Hashem from the equation, you took him sort of out of the game. Then everything shifts. Then you have to start explaining everything, right? Could you imagine? This is exactly the situation we're in now. If Hashem isn't the reason we're in Eretz Yisrael, now go ahead, start making up a worldview. We're Knaanim, we know from here, we're this, we're a democracy, we're a Western, whatever, you have to make up a whole thing. Once you veer a little bit off the truth, it just gets worse and worse, right? Once you start lying, then you have to lie more to hold the lie, to justify the lie. It just goes on and on. The statement he's saying here is it's just getting worse and worse. Once you're not truthful, Yehuda is Ne'eman. Yehuda stays Ne'eman, so they stay sort of solid. But Ephraim is going off. Now again, the basic Hoshea is maybe the prophet who's the most bashes them on the agalim, right? On the agalim, it's not the idols, the calves that were made in Beit El, and he bashes them. We've seen it many, many times already. And just to understand, when we talked about it also, the Malchut began in falsehood. It started in falsehood. The first thing Yerovam did was falsehood. Hoshea can't get over this, right? He says it again and again and again. So this is one reading. We'll go back to the Malbim. He's going to give us like a whole different reading here. But this seems to be the basic thing. So like Rashi says, Ro'eh Ruach, Lashon Rea. So he says it doesn't come from the word shepherding ideas. It's from a friend, like a Rea, right? Like Shalom Vereut, right? Friendship. מתחבר לדברי רוח, להעקום, ושמן שלהם למצרים מובילים לתת שוחד למצרים לעזור אותו. So I was sort of reading Rashi's reading, okay? They are friends of the Avodah Zarah. They adopt their views. They adopt their understanding. We talked about how the minute you have a ribui, right? You have a multitude of gods, you're going to fall into falsehood. That's the difference between monotheism and all other things. And here, with Ephraim, they have one here and one there. You're different places of worship. The minute there's not one place of worship, you also fall into the individual ideas and individual concepts. That's the problem with the bamot. That's the problem with the matzevot. All this we talk about. Okay? Tov. But now, Pasuk Gimel is going to fall on us from Shamayim. V'riv l'Adonayim Yehuda. Huh? You want to fight? You just said they were good. Riv l'Adonayim Yehuda, v'lifkod al Yaakov t'drachav kemal alav yashiv lo. Okay, so first of all, just a pshat. What is going on here? Didn't you just say Yehuda is Ne'eman? Right, that was the word, right? V'im k'doshim Ne'eman. Rashi said it very positively. They are still with Hashem. Mamash kacha. Im HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Od malkehem im HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Can't be more clear than that. Or the Mitzudat David says that Yehuda still is forcing his people to follow the Torah and follow God. No, it seemed very positive before. So what happens here? What just happened here? What happened in two psukim to Yehuda?
There is like Riv in Yehuda.
I'm fighting with Yehuda.
No, I think I would say that they have also their inside. They have their confusion somehow.
There's something going on in Yehuda.
That is not as critical as with Ephraim, but I think it's that some people are maybe more inclined to follow the religions of Ephraim in Mamlechet Yehuda.
We don't know that.
The kings are swayed by some like either.
But why would you say that? You're saying that just because
they
now,
want
because
to agree with another nation to do it. I don't know, but no, I'm saying because it's not there 100% bad, because we said in the pasuk before that they're still good.
no, you're reading it as the pshat almost, that there is something going on in Shevet in Yehuda. You're just trying to work it out with pasuk aleph. In other words, they're generally good, but there's cracks.
It's more of an internal thing. That externally
It looks good.
It's okay still.
Okay, it could be. So good. Okay, so Shushan is giving us like there's like a subtext sort of. Say, listen, it looks nice, but I want to tell you there are cracks already going on in Mamlechet Yehuda. So let's see what they do with it. All the Parshanim have to deal with this pasuk. So understand.
We're going back.
Going back to the Ephraim. We can't. Lichora, we can't. It's interesting. So I want to read a couple readings here. Okay. So let's first start off. You guys have on here. You have like you see there's Rashi and then Ibn Ezra and the Radak and the Al Sheikh. We have the Malbim later. With Malbim, we're going to see when we do the whole Malbim. So let's take a look. Riv la Hashem im Yehuda, says Rashi. Elohim hu magid et divrei rivo asher asu lo achem beit Yisrael velo yitmeu befogdo Yaakov kedrachav. Says Rashi. Hashem's not fighting with Yehuda. Hashem is fight. Riv la Hashem im Yehuda. I'm talking to Yehuda about my Riv. Who's my Riv with? Ephraim. Okay, that's how Rashi explains them. Again, Elehem hu megid divrei ribo, asher asu lo achehem beit Yisrael, velo yitmeu bifkodo al Yaakov tedrachav. He says, don't be surprised when I bash Mamlechet Yisrael. I'm telling you, I have a fight with them. In other words, the subject isn't Yehuda. The subject is Ephraim, that as we were, and he's just telling Yehuda.
Why would you do that?
What?
Why?
What he says, so they won't be surprised when they disappear.
How would Rashi read it then?
Wait, should it? No, I don't know. It somehow doesn't make sense to me.
It does. It's not. It's right. It does. It's not the Achi Chazak explanation
Where would Rashi
here.
put the commas in the
V'riv la'Adonai. Okay, that would there you'd have to put the comma. Okay, Im Yehuda adaber. That's how you would have to like add Im Yehuda. I'm talking. V'lifkod al Yaakov tedracham alav yashiv lo. I want you to know that this is what I'm doing. I'm going to hold Yaakov accountable. Yaakov being Aseret HaShvatim, okay, being the 10 tribes. Ukimal alav yashiv lo, and I'm going to return to him like his actions. That's how you have to read it by Rashi. Okay, not pshat, or maybe yes pshat, but let's go on. Ibn Ezra reads it differently. Says Ibn Ezra. המפרש כי יהודה הוא נאמן, והוא יהיה מוכיח, ואמר כי הכתוב לא הזכיר ויריב להשם על יהודה, רק אם טעם כי השם ויהודה יריבו על אפרים. This is referencing Rashi. He says, no. If you read that, Hashem is not really fighting with Yehuda, because Yehuda's Naaman. We talked about Yehuda, and he's just talking about to Yehuda about Ephraim, or maybe even with Yehuda to fight against Ephraim. The Ibn Ezra offers. That's not the pshat of what it says here. Ki lemala katav v'Yehudat mezoro arkiv Ephraim yecharash Yehuda v'al shnehem amar achaltem pri kachash. He says, listen, in the past there has been criticism of Mamlechet Yehuda. Why aren't you allowing the fact that there was criticism on Mamlechet Yehuda? We've seen Hoshea bring criticism on Mamlechet Yehuda. He says, both of you are going to eat the fruit of your lying ways. גם שכח ויריבו רועי גרר עם רועי יצחק, והיה רבעה ממשה ורבים אחרים, על כן חבר אפרים עם יהודה. He says, no, this is like Shushan was saying, this is a critique on Yehuda also. וריב לאדוני עם יהודה, ולפקוד על יעקב כדרכיו. Yaakov is everyone. It's both the 10 tribes and Yehuda. Right? Who's Yaakov? When you call someone Yaakov, it's all the 10 tribes. Says Ibn Ezra, no. Hashem has a riv with Yehuda also. What is the riv? What is going on with Yehuda? It's not clear at this moment. But the Ibn Ezra says, because you have a problem with Pasuk Aleph, you can't force the text here in Pasuk Gimel.
I mean, if you would say it like Rashi says, it would be like, okay. I'm telling you that on that thing that Yehuda should do something about it if they're told about it, right? They're just sitting around there. I don't know, conquered Ephraim.
Oh, very
and
good. What you're saying.
instituted tshuva.
Manyan. That's someone else is going to say that. The Rosh David Valley says or the Al Sheikh, I have to remember who says it. That's the critique. Okay, why are you quiet when this is happening? You're Ne'eman. Are we not all the children of Yaakov? This is what he says, right? Yifkod al Yaakov kedrachav k'ma'alalav yashiv. Again, the Malbim is going to open this up in a completely different way, but until we get to the Malbim, that may be part of the pshat here. In other words, I have a fight with you, Yehuda, not because you're doing anything wrong, but where's your responsibility to your brethren? Now we know, remember, they made guards. They killed people trying to get from Yisrael to Yehuda. Okay, it's not like it's a fun mamlecha, Yisrael. It's a tough place. But according to this, and Shushan says it, so I'm bringing it up already, Hashem is saying, listen, where are you? Why aren't you trying harder to bring your brothers into the fold? They're off the derech. They're off. They're 100%. They're going to get bashed. But why are you quiet at this time? It's a very interesting bikoret, according to this perush. Again, I don't remember who says it exactly. Maybe the Al Sheikh, but I don't think so. I think the Rav Moshe David Valley says this, and it's a serious bikoret. It's a serious critique, and it's a fascinating one because we haven't actually talked this way yet. We always sort of had them as two separate places and sort of accepted as a de facto situation.
Yeah,
But here suddenly Hoshea,
can wage war.
pulls out a new card and he says to them, listen, where are you? Where have you been?
Where are you helping?
Why aren't you influencing them? Why aren't you more active in trying to bring them back with tshuva? Why aren't you, what's going on? You sort of like keeping yourself safe, but what about them?
When was the treaty that they had when they went and got together to battle?
Before this.
Before.
It was before that. It's Echav's time, yeah. It was before this.
No, okay, treaties you can break.
No, he's saying at some point they were together. The problem was when they got together, it's not sure who was influencing who.
Right,
that was the problem. More that way.
Nonetheless, there was.
Okay, so these are, so again, all right, we have a machlok between Rashi and the Ibn Ezra how to just read this pasuk. Is it a critique or is it a as Rashi said, Hashem's bringing them in? He's saying, he's talking to them as I would say, as like someone you could tell a secret to Yehuda. Radak. V'riv l'Hashem im Yehuda. Afal pisha amar v'Yehuda od radi me'el. Even though it's pasuk Aleph where it seemed that it was good Yehuda. Amar afal pisha ichzik ba'avodat ha'el bebeit hamikdash. Achar kach hereu ma'aleh lehem. Shayu malchem ra'im. That's sort of like the basic understanding. Yeah, they were good, and I mentioned them when they were good, but then they got bad. לפיכך אמר שיש להשם ריב ותוכחה עם יהודה ועם יעקב לפקוד עליהם כמעל עליהם שיהיו מלכיהם רעים כי לא זכרו חסדים מהם ולא עם אביהם יעקב כי הכל בעבור זרעו והראיתי עליו אות שיהיה לזרעו אחריו אם ייתנו ליבם אליי וידעו כי בעבורם נענשו או נעשו אותו האות לא בעבור יעקב עצמו כי הוא לא היה אדון לעשו בימיו מה שהראיתי אליו לא היה אלא בעבור זרעו. He says the whole point of having Yaakov being Yaakov was so that his children will follow his ways. And you guys aren't following his ways. But here he says the Radak is bringing this also on to be correct straight on Yehuda, more powerfully than Ibn Ezra says.
Seems to me Radak and Ibn Ezra aren't addressing why it shifted in one pasuk and we'll go back. They're addressing points we know.
I agree. This is exactly the strength of Rashi's Perush.
Right.
In other words,
it's here, or they're giving us history. We know
this is a great example of a troubling commentary, a trouble in the pasuk itself, and not in the pasuk, in the context. From pasuk Aleph to pasuk Gimel, you have a jump. Now, what do? And pasuk Gimel seems to be critiquing Yehuda. So those are our two elements. How do you solve that? So Rashi solved. It's just like any sugya in the Gemara. In the Gemara, you have a sugya, right? You have two sources. They seem to not agree with one another. So what are you going to do? You're going to knock off one of the sources. You're going to say one of the sources is talking about a different case. One of the sources fits. you like leave one source as the major source, and the other source is going to fit into that source. This is exactly what they're doing. So in this case, Rashi says Pasuk Aleph is the major source, and I'm going to fit Pasuk Gimel into Aleph. And by the time the Radak and Ibn Ezra say, I have to stay on this thing, so I have to somehow relate it, but it doesn't work with Pasuk Aleph, really. It's saying, even though Pasuk Aleph exists, there is still a problem. Still problems going on.
There was criticism on Judah before, no?
Yes. That's what Ibn Ezra said. Ibn Ezra said, what's your problem?
But Rashi is not saying you can have criticism.
Huh?
Of course not. He's just saying it doesn't make sense 2 psukim later to suddenly have criticism.
You can, but I mean, like, prophecy is like somewhat...
So, no, it's not that.
It's more familiar.
Anyway, so what you guys could understand, both now you can understand Rashi and Ibn Ezra and the Radak are having a discussion that we had right here. Right? What do you do with these 2 psukim?
Well, actually, Dave makes a good point. What if do we ever hear someone say it's nevuah?
Doesn't mean that's
No. That we can't chop it. He wouldn't say it for us not to chop it.
Right.
Understand. The prophecy, even though it's very hard, I keep on saying it's hard to understand.
It could be that just a but it just why is it so weird this pasuk and amongst the other one, like, because it's nevuah, like,
and therefore what?
Therefore it doesn't need to be in order.
No Parshan thinks that way. No one thinks that way.
Just paraduma.
No one thinks that way. Be'emetz, no one thinks that way. No one can say, oh, I don't know, why do you throw this pasuk in? Because it's a nevuah. No one says that. They're all looking for some kind of logic, and it says it's written to us. I mean, it's written to us. We're supposed to understand something.
Or maybe even that we can't get it these days after such a removal.
They didn't see it. The Radak didn't see it. The Malbim didn't see it. The Rashi didn't see it.
That long ago, so.
Okay, and so we're talking about all of his. Chazal didn't think that. Chazal didn't think that way. Yeah. No one thought that way. So the Al-Shich. Okay, so the Al-Shich is right. We're talking about Sfat, like Rabbi Yosef Karo's time. So here's someone in the middle too. V'riv la'Hashem im Yehuda. Halo itzdakti et Yehuda be'erkecha Yisrael ha'ktuvim ha'ktuvim. So he says, you know what? I just said in the Ktuvim before, 2 psukim before this, I said that Yehuda, yachasit to you, Ephraim, they're great. Right? I just said that. But you shouldn't think, this is how the Malshich explains it, don't think that I'm not watching them too. He says, don't think shani noselem panim. Noselem panim is like being hypocritical. I'm not being hypocritical. Watch this. Al ya'alel ruchachem ki noseh ani et Yehuda panim. Don't think, he says to Ephraim, that I'm going easy on Yehuda. Shehu ben beiti shochen Yerushalayim. Because he lives in my house, so I'm being nice to him. You have to hear an undertone of the Al-Sheikh said is going on between the 2 mamlachot. That they're saying, you just like him because your house is there. That's why you love them. There's a discussion here over the question, who is Israel? This we're going to see in the Malbim. He's going to play this out very strongly. Who is Israel? Who's the real Israel? Is it Mamlechet Israel or is it Mamlechet Yehuda? And you hear Mamlechet Israel saying, oh, you're with them because Beit HaMikdash is there. That's the only reason you're there. It's not fair. You overlook their sins, you overlook their discretions because you're there. And it says, wait, not so fast, says Hashem, not so fast. Ki habitu uru, look and see. Ki b'makom she'ani motze bo avon asher chata, eini noseh lo panim chalila. When I find something wrong, boom, I don't look the other way. Vehu, ki ne be'emet riv la'Hashem im Yehuda. I really have a fight with Yehuda also. Halo hu ma'ala b'da'ato shel Yehuda b'mechirat Yosef. Whoa. Woo, says the Al-Sheikh. Goes, whoa, let's go back. He goes, I have a bone to pick with Yehuda from the sale of Yosef. So, whoa, okay. Ubevi aktonet la'aviv, ve'le'emor lo aker na'aktonet binchahu. Ha'im ve'lifkod al Yaakov kedrachav. Hayim levavo le'emor, ma Yaakov ganav ha'brachot mechav. Gam ani gnov achi asher ahav ve'emkerenu. Whoa. The Al-Sheikh is going to like some serious psychology in the family of Yaakov. And he goes like this. Shushan, you all right?
what has this
to do with anything?
To do with them?
Okay, good. So hold on with that. Okay, hold on with that. Right, to bring up a thing. This is thousands of years before this.
We did make a mashal. It's a married couple.
Okay,
does it mean that the people of Yehuda in this time would do?
So 1 second. So we're gonna have to see what it is. I think this is gonna play into what we said before. Okay, and he says like this: Yehuda, when he sold Yosef, and he brings the ketonet, right? He brings the ketonet to his Velemor lo akerna ketonet bin chai. This is to give Yaakov back. Yaakov stole the things from his brothers. So we're going to steal his heart with fooling him. We're going to trick him he tricked his father. I'm going to trick my father. Says Yehuda. Okay, 1 second. Okay? V'kasher hu kibel ma vayave Yosef et dibatam ra'i la v'lo ga'ar bo. Yaakov heard all the lashon hara that Yosef brought about us and didn't say anything. Kam hu yavilo tektonet v'yomar lo akerna. I'm going to bring your ketonet and say, look what happened here. I'm lying to you. Maybe you'll believe this also. In other words, Yehuda has issues with his Abba. That's what's going on here. He's saying, Abba, you taught us well. You lied to your brother. I'm going to lie to you lied to your father. I'm going to lie to my father. You received lashon hara and went fooled. So I'm going to give you lashon hara and fool you. Valachat amar lifkod v'gum, valashrit amar kemal alav. V'gam shemachzik lo aviv tova al dvar Yosef, even though he says Yaakov has Yosef, he's happy with what Yehuda did with Yosef because he's the one who goes down and he's the one who takes responsibility for Binyamin at the end of the day. Ube'amor la miteref b'nialita, he seems to think that Yehuda was great. Henemet. He saved him. When did Yehuda save Yosef? When he said to bring him out of the pit, right, and sell him. Ach im kol zeh he'shimahu razal al she'itchil b'mitzvah v'lo gamar she'al ken v'kavar ishto uvanav. He says, Chazal still say, Yehuda, if you took him out of the pit, bring him back to his parents. What's it? Whoa! So you saved a half job, exactly. That's what he said. Okay. So now we're like, whoa! What's going on here? Shushan said, what in the world are you bringing up this stuff? So let's go back now to what we're saying. This is what we said before. You have responsibility for your brother. You have Yehuda. From way back then, you have responsibility for Ephraim. Who's Ephraim? It's Yosef. No, that's Yosef. You do have a responsibility. You only did it halfway, your responsibility then and now. And now. So the Alshik is going far, far into history to explain that Hashem says, I still have a bone to pick with Yehuda, who even though his father himself thought that Yehuda was great and said, you saved Yosef and you did it. I though know, says Hashem, that it was only half-hearted. It wasn't really 100%. Why are we bringing this up now, so much later? Because it's the same statement. Yehuda says, listen, what do you want me to do? What can I do? They're off the derech. Just like at that point, you could have done more, I expect more of you now also. It's a fascinating reading. Really, we could sit here for hours and talk about Yehuda and Yosef and the relationship. We talked about it many times in class in different in Yoshua we talked about it. We talked about Hoshea a little bit. We'll talk this concept of the two main brothers, Yehuda and Yosef. How do they interact between them? How each one thinks they are ruling, they're in charge, they're the leaders, or if they have this brotherly love between them. To understand that we work together, right? These are the beautiful prophecies of Yechezkel, where he says, I'm going to write the name of Israel on one and Yehuda on one, and I'm going to bring them together, Ephraim and Yehuda, and there will be one. It's Mashiach time. That for the purposes of the people hearing this in Bavel, where Yechezkel is with the Galut Bavel, telling them this prophecy, they're like, that's like saying Meretz and Ben Gvir will sit together and everything will be fun. It's like no way, it can't happen. So then he goes into all explanation saying why what Yehuda thought about Yaakov isn't really right, and Yaakov didn't do wrong things, and it wasn't correct how Yehuda sort of had a grudge against his father and was just like bringing it back to his father. He says it's not true, and that's how he goes on. That's how the Al-Sheikh explains the continuations of the psukim. That then, it's Yehuda doing what he did, saying this is our family minhag. Here, then according to the Al-Sheikh, the next psukim say that's not really, it's not right what Yehuda thinks. It's not right. Yaakov was more mutzdak than it seems. But I don't want to continue that in the Al-Sheikh, okay? Let's continue in the chapter, okay? Because we really want to get to the Malbim. Understand? So now we have a story. We have Yaakov Avinu in Mamash, right? And this explanation says Yaakov Avinu from birth was meant for great things. That's how Rashi explains. He held on to his brother's ankle. That he will be the strong one. Yaakov will be the strong one. And Hashem says, I intended it for him to be the strong one. From birth, Yaakov was supposed to be the chosen one. The one who will manage to get over and fight his enemies. V'yashar malach v'yuchal. He manages to beat the malach. And he cried for him in Beit El. V'sham yedaber imanu. In Beit El we will be found, and Hashem will speak to us there. In other words, he's saying, everything I did, Hashem says, I did to give brachot to Yaakov Avinu. I tried for Yaakov to be in the best place possible. Let's take a look at Rashi here quickly. Rashi, how he explains this pasuk. Look at pasuk Vav. Ve'Adonai Elohei etzvot Adonai zichro. Kasher hayiti me'az. If you guys see Rashi, kasher hayiti me'az. Ken ani ata. Just like then I was with Hashem, with Yaakov, and I blessed him, and he overcame the angel. I'm just like then. I'm the same thing. Just like I saved him from his enemies, and I protected him, and I raised him up in Beit El and other places. I would have done that with you too. This is your forefather. This is the story. But what did you do? Had you done all this, if you would have returned to your God, held on to chesed and mishpat, and kaveh el Elohecha tamid, it's a great term, and hope or yearn for your God always, for me always, you could have been Yaakov. You were supposed to be Yaakov. That was you. That was your imprint. Your imprint was to be this man who is greater than angels, who can beat anything, anyone. His brother, the evil brother Esav, the Edom, and even angels. You could overcome everything. This is who you're supposed to be. This is your DNA. This is how I created you, Hashem says. What did you guys do? Knan be'adom oznei mirma le'ashok ahev. You became a corrupt merchant. Knan is a merchant, okay? But it's obviously not just a merchant. What is it? Knan, a Canaanite. And here he's saying you chose a different culture. You came into the land and you chose to make yourselves like Knaanim. Now here again, it's a double meaning, because a Knaani is a socher, it's a merchant. That's what it is often. But lo yavo Knaani b'beit Hashem, at the end of Chagai, if I'm not mistaken, right? That there's a but here he's not stam saying a socher. He knows how to say the word socher. He's referencing double meaning Knaani, in that you chose to follow not the children of Yaakov, you chose to follow the children of Ham in that sense. You chose to follow a different maslul than what Hashem created for you. Vayomer Ephraim af asharti matzati avon li kol yigi lo yimtzu li avon asher chata chet bigadol. This pasuk is talking about how he's saying everything is from me, it's all mine, it's all my actions, it's all my attempts, no God, you didn't do me anything. Then Hashem says, Vanochi Adonai Elohecha me'eretz Mitzrayim, odo shivcha be'olim kimei moed. Rashi explains this again. I'm going Rashi so we can get to the Malbim. I'm just like going through the one explanation of the parak very quickly. He says, Hashem says, I am the one who took you out of Mitzrayim. He's returning to this idea of that I am the one who was there. And I can still bring you back to this learning Torah like Yaakov Avinu. Look at what he says here. Oda shivcha be'olim, says Rashi. Achrit mitochecha sochrei mirma. I'm going to take away all the cheating, lying merchants. V'shivcha be'olim. Amid mitochecha talmidim oskim b'Torah. O Torah. I can still rectify this. And how did I try to rectify it? V'dibalti al neviim. I talked to the prophets. And I gave them lots of prophecy. Ubiyad neviim adameh. Rashi says, I tried to explain to you in so many different languages, in imagery, in song, in poetry, in verse. I tried to convince you through my prophets that all this is, He says, Im Gilad Aven Achshav Hayu Begilgal Shvarim Zibechu. Everything happened. They went off in Avodah Zarah, serving Avodah Zarah in Gilgal, serving these Agalim, the Shvarim, right? Gam Mizbechotam Kegalim Al Tamei Sadai. They're also as many as the rocks in the fields were their altars that they served for others. And then he goes back and he goes, this is going back and forth. And Hoshea and Rashi's explanation of what's going on here, he keeps going back and forth. He says, I wanted you to be pristine, and you just keep on going off the way. Now he's going back. Vayivrach Yaakov sde aram, vayavod Yisrael b'isha, v'isha shamar. Hashem says, Yaakov ran away, okay? Ve'od zot asiti lo, u'tzach livroach, aval shamarti alav. He says he ran away to Aram, but I was in charge of him, and I took care of him. U'nevi hela Adonai et Yisrael mitzrayim, u'nevi nishmar. The same thing. You went to Mitzrayim, you were there, but I sent a prophet to bring you out, Moshe Rabbeinu. At the end of the day, Ichis Ephraim Tabrurim, you've been horrible to Hashem, and v'chulei v'chulei. Beseder? So thank you, Arya. Beseder, this is Rashi's reading. I'm sort of not giving it enough justice, so I want to get to the Malbim. But that's how he reads. It's a ping-pong parak of saying what Hashem does for us, and that we do. So let's go to the Malbim, and then hopefully at the end we'll also give another glimpse of this Yaakov Avinu. Why Yaakov Avinu is the story. So the Malbim has a whole malach here. We'll see how he did. It's on the third page, right? The Malbim. We're going to go through him from the beginning. Now that we know the chapter, right? The chapter starts off, right? I've been surrounded by falsehoods. Let's take a look. Ephraim, Shu Hashevet HaMolech, Savevu Oti Bekachash, Shehi Akfira, Shekafru Bepinot HaEmunah. So he says, the Malbim is going to divide this chapter into two sins. The Malbim is going to, there are two sins of Mamlechet Yisrael. One is Ben Adam L'Makom, and one is Ben Adam L'Chavero. Ben Adam L'Makom is spiritually or theologically, they're false, and the other is the basic day-to-day lives. They're also cheating and lying. Again, we saw this before in the previous chapter, but he's going to explain what the cheating and lying is in this case. Ve'amru al hagalim ele Elohecha Yisrael, uvemirma beit Yisrael yeter hashvatim emasku b'mirma b'dvarim sheben adam lechavero. Okay, so he says Ephraim, the major sin for Ephraim, he's holding them accountable for the theology. They're the ruling shevet. They're the ones who set the tone. My problem with Ephraim is there.
They also do like the worst sins and lying, cheating.
But he divides it up. Again, the division the Malbim is saying, he's dividing up the chapter the pasuk between the critique of the leading tribe, which is Ephraim, like the nobility. It's sort of like the academia. They're the ones who gave the mindset. Nowadays too, right? How do people think? the ideas originate from the universities. They originate from the ivory towers. And then it takes years, but at some point it goes down into the people and it changes their mind. This is what the Malbim is saying. He says, for you, Ephraim, I have a real problem. They also have a problem with. But their problem is just, I would say, is their actions. We have a problem with the thought and the actions. Two problems going on here. He's going to have it throughout the whole chapter. Just like I said about the Canaan in later psukim. Rak Yehuda odrad im El. And he says, Yehuda, bimei Yotam v'Chizkiyahu mashlu b'yirat Hashem yanei amunah. He says, Yehuda were pretty yashar with God in the belief system. V'im gdoshim ne'eman, shenanuti mihefech hamirma. Okay, so he says, this pasuk is juxtaposing Yisrael mul Yehuda in both levels. Both theologically and practically, Yisrael are off the derech and Yehuda are good. Start off. We get the Malbim start off. Pasuk bet. Ephraim, אבל אפרים הוא רואה רוח והבל בענייני האמונה. וכל היום כזב ושוד ירבה בדברים שבין אדם לחברו. Once again, he just look at פסוק ב'. Ephraim רואה רוח ועודף קדים, כל היום כזב ושוד ירבה. The Malbim loves this. The first part is talking about ruach, the spirit. That's the bikoret to, that's the critique to Ephraim, right? The spirit people, the people who are talking about spirit. And all those ones who all the days are chasing after lying and robbery, that's who? The regular people who are doing injustice. Okay, he's continuing the pasuk. וכל היום כזה שבין אדם לחברו. וברית, וחוץ מזה הוא עצמו יכין לו מוקש שיגלה מארצו. כי אחר שברית עם אשור יכרותו, והיא לו הושע עבד, אם כן למה שמן למצרים יובל? למה שלח מלאכים אל סוע מלך מצרים? שזה כדי למרוד במלך אשור. וזה סיבת גלותם. So here's another critique of not being yashar in politics, in international politics. This we've seen also, and this is a summary sort of things we've seen before. And then second, he's about to go off to a new way. But he says there's also a problem of the practical stealing and cheating and lying in everyday life. There's a problem in going off theologically, and there's also a problem in your international relations. What you see, what you present to the other nations. Because you went to Ashur, and then as you're talking to Ashur, you run off to Mitzrayim. It's like I'm talking to America at the same time going to Russia. You can't do that.
Israel does that.
I just want to say, Hoshea is fascinating in his critique of international politics. We saw it before, but it's the fact that he demands a trustworthiness, a yashrut, a faithfulness in international politics is a chidush. It's not so you could say with the goyim, you could play around with the goyim. Do whatever you need to do. Play him off him, that's politics. Malasot. Hoshea doesn't let that go by. Hoshea has and as the Malbim calls them out here also, you can't play around with this. You're Ashur, you're Mitzrayim, you can't play around with this. What does it look like to other people? You have to realize that there's a chilul Hashem. Also. But this is just mentioned here on the offset. He's not really going to go into this. Now he's going to start more when he goes into Yehuda and Bikar, the next psukim. So let's take it. V'riv la'Hashem im Yehuda. Right, this is our pasuk. The pasuk we had all the different opinions on. Okay, right? V'riv la'Hashem im Yehuda. Hashem has a fight with Yehuda. So what's the riv? We saw the Malbim say it's from way, not the Malbim, sorry, Baal Sheikh says from way back. We saw the Ibn Ezra and the Radak saying that there are problems in Yehuda. The Ibn Ezra didn't explain exactly what. The Radak said it's because the kings are off. And we saw Rashi explaining it as a positive thing, or not a negative thing to Yehuda. The Malbim, Riv la'Hashem im Yehuda, Ritzonona Ephraim oseh riv im Yehuda. You guys hear this? Ephraim is fighting Yehuda. Riv, read the pasuk again, right? V'riv la'Adonai im Yehuda. רצונו לומר, אפרים עושה ריב עם יהודה, שהוא ריב להשם. Hold on, he's going to explain. כי בימים האלה, היה תגר בין אפרים ובין יהודה. There is a fight between Ephraim and Yehuda. What's the fight about? V'sibat hariv haya mipnei sheYehuda oved et Hashem v'shomer avodat hamikdash v'korbonotav ve'Ephraim davek bechat'at Yerovam ve'oseh meriva al Hashem v'riv hazeh haya lo im Yehuda. There is a fight over the authenticity of avodat Hashem. Watch this. This is mind-boggling what the Malbim is about to do here. He says there is a argument over who is the real Oved Hashem. I hinted to this before, but here the Malbim is going to flush it out mamash. Who is the real Oved Hashem? Now we're like, what are you talking about? How could Ephraim even raise that as a possibility? But I want to, before I go on, I just want to give a push.
Because we know the end.
I want to say, who chose Yerushalayim?
Hashem.
Who chose Yerushalayim?
David.
David chose Yerushalayim. We know there is a place that's called Bet El. It's called Zeh. But what does Yaakov say when he's there? Ki Zeh. Right? Zeh Shara Shamayim. This is what I have in the pasuk. Right? And Zekiim Bet Elohim. V'zeh Shara Shamayim. Says Yaakov where? In Bet El. Says Yerovam, and we're going to see he's going to play it out. That's the real tradition. You, Yehuda, you went and you made up another place. You chose Yerushalayim because it's in your Nachala. But that's against
Binyamin.
What?
It's Binyamin.
Binyamin Yehuda. It's in between Binyamin and Yehuda. It's right in the middle, right? It says that is against our tradition. This is like a whole new concept of the machloket between the mamlechot. We've seen many different times, different parts of this machloket. But this is a new statement. And this is going to explain why the whole chapter is going to talk about Yaakov Avinu. In other words, these are all statements of Mamlechet Yisrael. Mamlechet Yisrael sees themselves as Yisrael. Yisrael is Yaakov. That's who they are. They are the original, the real Jews. No, sorry, Jews are Yehuda. We are the real Israelites. Jacobites. We are the real Israelites. You guys are phonies. You're off. Now this we've never seen yet. This is a new one, okay? Hashem's obviously going to critique them on this, but if the Malbim opens this whole chapter up to a whole new understanding of what's happening here between the kingdoms.
Yeah, so, but if they say it like that, it sounds pretty valid.
It's good, right? They're not so stupid. They're not. And I always like the Perushim that give a better, deeper understanding to the other side. And they're not just false, they're not just off. There's a statement they're saying that may have been from many generations in the past. Let's take a look, okay? V'riv haya lo im Yehuda, v'gam ze haya sipat mapalato, שעל ידי זה לא לבד שיהודה לא שלח לו עזרה בצער, כי גם בימי אחז הסית בו את מלך אשור, ולפקוד על יעקב כדרכיו. Here, look at this. So he says there's a fight going on here, and this is Hashem uses this as a reason why Israel falls. But look, Hine aseret hashvatim. You guys see the fourth line in Gimel. Aseret hashvatim yichsu atzmam b'shem Yaakov. They called themselves Yaakov. They appropriated the name Yaakov. Shekol makom sheyamar b'sefer stam Beit Yaakov kiven al aseret hashvatim. That's really, when you say Beit Yaakov, you mean the 10 tribes. V'chen kol makom sheba'u b'yachad b'shem Yisrael v'Yehuda. Kiven b'shem Yisrael aseret hashvatim, right? Even we do that. When we call them Yisrael, who do we think we're talking about? The 10 tribes. Al pi zeh omer, ma she'amar, sheyesh lo riv im Yehuda. V'chen ma shekatuv shemardu ba'Hashem v'avdu et hagalim. Yodmar b'derech melitza v'alatza. שבזה נראה שהם רוצים לפקוד על יעקב כדרכיו. שהם רוצים להידמות אל יעקב. They want to be like יעקב, the 10 tribes. ונגד מה שנאמר שיש להם ריב אחיו עם יהודה אחיהם, אמר שיאמרו שכן עשה גם יעקב. They're going to say, just like Yehuda says, why are you fighting with us? Why are you saying this? Yaakov also fought. Who did he fight with? He fought with his brother too. We are real Yacobites. We fight with our brothers also. We have a fight over the birthright. You, in this way, who does Yehuda turn into according to this? Esav. We're Yaakov, so if they're Yaakov, then who's their brother? Their brother is Esav. Let's go on. This is exactly how, now the next psukim are going to be not explaining what Yaakov's doing here suddenly, they're explaining this is the Mamlechet Yisrael's thought pattern. This is their basic myth that they have, that they are the real Yaakov, and Shevet Yehuda are broken off from the real Yaakov.
How will Malbim reconcile that so much of Nach is about David and Nebuah?
No, he doesn't say this. It's all wrong. All this is wrong.
Right, no, but they would have to have some kind of contention to go against David.
This is what they're doing. They broke off against David all the time. All the time they couldn't stand David. Read it and see. They're only together for 80 years.
And of course, David's first capital was...
But you know what I'm saying? What? No, it's Hebron. But that's in Yehuda. But Yerushalayim, though. Why didn't you come to Beit El? That's their question. Why didn't you return to Beit El? When Yerovam makes Beit El the place for his agalim, it's very clear why he does it. It's very mikubal, very hagioni to Am Yisrael. Why he's doing it. So the next one is a big one. Okay, bebeten akav et achiv, v'chen yasu hem sheokvim et Yehuda achehem. Just like Yaakov Avinu held on to his brothers, so too we, Yisrael, we're holding on to our brother's akev. Who's our brother? Yehuda. ונגד מה שהקדישו את בית אל על עבודת העגלים, אמר, ובעונו שרת אלוהים, וישר אל מלאך. הנביא הודיעו לנו בזה חדוות מיני קדם. שראינו, he says, he's bringing back old memories here, the Hoshea, is bringing us back, way back. What? שבעת מלאך ירובעם, כתיב ויבן ירובעם את שכם בהר אפרים, ויצא משם ויבן את פנואל. Listen, he's saying, listen. What are the first things that Yerovam did? He built Shechem. Who went to Shechem? Yaakov went to Shechem. The first place he comes, when he comes to Eretz Yisrael, he goes to Shechem. He buys Shechem, right? That's the whole story. And what else did he do? Pnuel. What's Pnuel? What's Pnuel? Shimon Levi. But one second, but that's not the story. He's saying he came to Shechem. Shechem was the first place he came to in Eretz Yisrael. And he buys it. And Pnuel, what's Pnuel? Pnuel is where he saw the angels, right? Pipaniti, right? Okay. These are the places that Yerovam builds. The first things that Yerovam restores when he starts off his mamah. ויבעץ המלך ויעש שני עגלי זהב, וישם את אחד בבית אל ואת אחד נתן בדן. והנה מה שנתן אחד בדן לא יפלא אצלנו, בגדן עמד פסל מיכה, which is what we're going to learn right after Purim, Pesel Micha, the story of Pesel Micha. He says that was already there. That's traditional from way back. Yerovam says, I'm just restoring tradition. We've had an Egel here for many years. Yehuda are the weird people. They're starting in Beit HaMikdash. What's this Beit HaMikdash shtuyot? We have Masoret, that there's an Egel in Pesel Micha, which here we understand that Pesel Micha possibly was an Egel, okay, and that it's up there in Dan. וחשבו כי המקום הזה הוקדש לעבודת העגל, אבל למה נתן את האחד בבית אל? Says the Malbim, why did he go to Beit El? וכבר ביארנו שהעגל בבית אל היה עיקר אצלו. ולמה בחר את בית אל דווקא? Says the Malbim. This is a perush on Malachim, right? This isn't even a perush on here on Hoshea. This is a perush on Malachim. ולמה בנה שני ערים אלה שכם ופנואל? כל זה תבין. במה שכתב כי אשר תשבים יכסו עצמם על שם יעקב וידמו אליו. They appropriated the name Yaakov and they wanted to be like Yaakov. You guys have to fall off your seats. This is so interesting, this statement here, the Malbim. The Malbim is saying there are traditions in Israel. That predate David, way predate David. And they say, you are the false. You're false. You're the liars. You guys are the invented religion. We're just going back to our forefather Yaakov Avinu. Which
includes putting egels in these places.
In Beit El. Beit El is the place. Beit El is where we are. That's it. That's it.
I argue with the Prime saying that doing worship of Avodah Zarah is...
But they wouldn't say it's Avodah Zarah.
They say you're doing Avodah Zarah almost. You're serving God. They were serving God. Right? We always remember. It's not about the Zara per se. They're serving God in the wrong way for our sake. But here they're saying, we're serving God in the right way. Now he's going to say, there's another Masoret. What's the other Masoret?
To put up a stat.
An Egel. Where do we have that Masoret from?
Is that
last week's Parsha?
Aaron. Well, he's going to say it. He's going to say it here, right here. One second.
It's this week's Parsha.
This week's Parsha, right? Here we have Parsha. Let's go on. 1 second.
Wouldn't they also know that they got punished for that too?
1 second. ובאשר התנכל ירבעם להקדיש מקומות שיהיו קדושים בעיני ישראל כמו ירושלים. חשב את דרכי יעקב אבי האומה שנאבק עם המלאך בפנואל. When he was fighting against Yerushalayim, when Yerovam said, he says, this is just like our father fighting an angel. Just like I'm fighting Yerushalayim, just like Yaakov fought a holy angel. There's spiritual power there, but I'm fighting it. כמו שכתב ויקרא שם המקום פניאל, ופנואל הלך לעיר שכם, ומשכם נסע לבית אל, ושם בנה מזבח. This is Yaakov's path. This is exactly what Yerovam does. He's following Yaakov's path. ולכן בנה את שכם ואת פנואל, אשר המקומות האלה יש בהם קדושה. They are holy. This is where Yaakov built in the previous time.
Does Malbim bring this also there?
I don't know, but he should. פנואל מצד ראיית המלאך בראשונה, ושכם ששכן שם יעקב אחר זה, הוא בנה שם מזבח. אולם בבית אל, ששם נגלה אליו אלוהים. בית אל is the place that Hashem appeared to him. ובא אגדה במדרש, כי כאשר ביקש המלאך מאת יעקב שישלחנו, ויעקב רצה שיסכים על הברכה, התחנן המלאך שיניחנו עתה כי בבית אל, שם יסכים על הברכה. It says the Midrash that says that even when they fought, the end of the fight was in Beit El. He said, I'll give you the bracha in Beit El. Now the Beit El is the focus of this whole ma'avak. Listen, he says, והאגדה זאת הייתה קדמונית. This midrash that Chazal brings, says the Malbim, it was a midrash from way then. They knew this midrash before Chazal. It's a midrash that was traditional from the children of Yaakov. They knew this story. This is a story that is in the family for many years.
Which
the midrash says that when the Balach said, let go of me, and then he said, I won't let go until you give me a bracha, the bracha was going to be in Beit El. That's the Midrash says. That was clear that to both of them that it's going to be. Says the Malbim. You have to understand the layers of commentary here. Says the Malbim. That Midrash isn't a Midrash that Chazal made up. That was an old tradition. Chazal is just telling us an old tradition that even the sons of Yaakov knew per se. It was in Am Yisrael since Egypt, since before. That Beit El is the place of the bracha. The bracha comes to Beit El. ועל פי זה אמר ירבעם, כי בבית אל שם נשאר המלאך הזה. ושם יתגלה אל נביאי העגל ועובדיו. He says, the angel is still there. The angel remains in Beit El. That angel that Yaakov fought with is a spiritual entity who is in Beit El right now. We are going to plug in to the angel of Beit El. He is the angel of bracha. He is the angel that we are connecting to.
So when the Kutim said that David accidentally picked the wrong city,
so he's the second person who says that, right?
They weren't joking. Probably picked the wrong city, but
Who else says it today?
But they got the place wrong themselves too. That's not hard reasoning.
You're right. It's a good point. The Shomronim are the same kind of thinking.
Process.
You're off.
Still challenging it.
Right. Har Grizim is also a place that was special, right?
Yeah.
Har Grizim is special.
If it's like Malbim says, like where's the civil war that should be happening?
There was. It happened to country. There were a couple of civil wars.
No, it's here.
It's not. It's a theological war. Just like up until now, we've always coming from the Yehuda side, right? Up until now, we kept on saying Yehuda's right and they're off on off. Here, suddenly, the Malbim saying, 1 second, listen to the other side. I want to explain to you the theology of Mamlechet Yisrael.
Basically, in a courtroom, there's a lawyer for Yehuda and a lawyer
Very good,
for Israel.
very much so. Now, Hoshea is not. Wait, let's not make a mistake. Hoshea is not going to be say it's okay, but Hoshea is the first one who really flushes out this concept of the falsehood, but what they were saying. They were not, again, they weren't silly, they weren't stupid, they weren't making things up out of nowhere. They have a tradition, and the tradition makes sense. And as he follows what Yerovam does, it's amazing. It's tying in an explanation of Malachim, of Yerovam, that this was the lifeblood of Mamlechet Israel. They thought, they were actually believed that they are the chosen son. They are Yaakov. Yehuda are the ones who broke off. They're the weird ones. They went out of Beit El. What's this Yerushalayim thing? It's never mentioned in the Torah, Yerushalayim. What in the world are you going to Yerushalayim for? What's the story? This is the place. Nachon, there's Har Hashem Yireh Behara Moriah. Who knows where that is? In the mountain range of Moriah. But we know where Beit El is. We know where it is. We know exactly where we're going. We know, and this is what he says. And the Malach is there. The Malach is really there. It also reminds us of the story of the Malach of David, right? Right? Why? How do they know to choose Yerushalayim? Because the Malach was standing where at the sword. Well, we have a Malach here. Why is your Malach better than our Malach? This is a Malach of Yaakov Avinu. So let's go on here. Okay, let's finish. I mean, this Malbim is amazing. So let's go on. וזה שכתב לפרש מה שיעשו לפי דעתם כדרכי יעקב. בהריב שיש לומר, אם אחיכם יהודה כריב יעקב עם עשיו. He says it's flat out. Their fighting against Yehuda is like Yaakov against Esav. That's how they saw it. That means it's so cool. We could make this even better, right? Because what is David called? Admoni. Yefei Einayim, right? He's called an Admoni, and they say, maybe he's from Edom, maybe he's from... In other words, they were not... There was a case being made here against them. כי בעונו שרת אלוהים וישר המלאך ויוחר, כמו שכתב כי שרית עם אלוהים ועם נשים ותוכל. ואז בכה המלאך והתחנן לו ליעקב והבטיח לו כי בית אל ימצאנו ושם יסכים על הברכות. על פי זה יאמר אפרים אתה. According to that, Ephraim says now, כי שם ידבר עמנו. He's going to talk to us where? This is the end of Pasuk Hey. שם ידבר איתנו בבית אל. That's where Hashem will speak to us. That's where the Malach. רצונו למשל, המלאך נמצא שם עד עתה. He's there till now, והוא מדבר עם בני יעקב, שהם העובדים את העגלים בבית אל. He talks to us, our prophets, in בית אל. שאמרו שהמלאך הזה ינבא אותם, והוא האמצעי משפיע עליהם ברכותיו גם עתה. He is the conduit of the Shefa Elohi. All this is the Ta'ana. Now, Hashem says, V'Hashem Elohei Atzvaot, Hashem Zichro. Hashem says, there's no conduits. I don't play with conduits. In Yerushalayim, I reign me. There's no conduits. You're wrong. In other words, you're off. No agalim, no malachim, me. But that is only in Beit Olamim. That's only in Beit HaMikdash. V'Hashem Elohei Tzvaot, al zeh meshiv lehem hanavi. I'm going on to the next pasuk. Vav, right? So Hashem, al zeh meshiv lehem hanavi. And there, Hoshea answers them. In other words, Hoshea, the prophet, has to come and say you're wrong. But they're very well entrenched in their opinions. Al zeh meshiv lehem hanavi, alo im bnei Yisrael en mekablim hashpa'atam mimalach v'sar, rak em mekablim hashpa'atam me'Hashem bebilti emtzai. We don't accept through conduits. V'Hashem ulei atzvaot hu hamoshel atzvaot hamalach. He is in charge of that angel. Hashem zichro hu nizkar etzenu b'shem Havaya, the personal name, not Hashem tzvakot. He's not just the Hashem of the hosts. He's not just the Hashem who has lots of malachim. He is our God, and we have direct connection to him. Lo b'shem tzvaot hu malach v'sar. Why are you guys going to Beit El, where there's a malach there, as opposed to Hashem? And that's the next pasuk. He says, come back to your God, not to your angel. That's how he explains it. Lo yodei malach. And he says it again and again. Hoshea is saying, you guys are wrong. You're on a conduit. Now, Wow. So we don't have time. We're done. But this opens up a whole range of understanding of what is the discussion here and what's going on and what's Mamlechet Yisrael thinking and what's their mistake and how they were off. But in my mind, it opens up a deep rift in Judaism throughout history of who is the real one. The katot in Beit Sheni, the sects in Beit Sheni. These were these discussions. The Tzdukim, the Prushim. All these are discussions. Who is the real Jew? Who is the real one? And it was a real discussion. It ripped apart our nation for 800 years almost. They were in two different mamlachot. And they really didn't. So we've seen other places where it seems the Pshat, Yerovam just needed to get out of it, right? We saw Perushim, Yerovam used religion for Malchut. We saw Hoshea bring that as this. But now Hoshea is going to a deeper level. And he's saying, listen, there's a real machloket and you're just wrong. And one of the things that proves that they're wrong is how corrupt they are. That's where the corruption comes in. I'm shortening the distance, okay? If you guys were really God-fearing, then you wouldn't be corrupt. It doesn't work together. This is the thing. It's when the shorish what? When these things they shine on each other. They shine on each other. It's very hard to have a right masoret, have a wrong masoret and stay on the right path. That's what we talked about, the little shift in the beginning that spreads out to many, many things. So here it's like a little shift. There, you could hear them. Wow, you sit with some people in the sects of Judaism, it makes sense what you're saying. But that little shift trickles out to doing all kinds of other things.
And don't we say that today too?
Of course we say that today too.
Because this exists today, that means it has to have been correct. Oh no.
But what exists today?
The Judaism that we have today. That it has to be. Because it's the only one that exists.
I would say, you could say that also, right. Yeah, but I mean, that's exactly. It's impossible to counter it. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna stop here. There. He goes on. The Malbim continues in this vein.
Is this why this is one of your favorite parakim in Hoshea?
I think that what the Malbim says is just mind-boggling, and it explains many things in. It makes sense. It makes sense to understand how Mamlechet Yisrael was thinking otherwise. In other words, they had a theology, a real theology. Exactly. It wasn't just Yerovam may have been using this cynically, but it wasn't. It was. He was smart. He was either very smart or is really. The Malbim says here what he hints that tradition was from forever, is saying that this was a real thing.
Where does the Malbim source this from somewhere, or he's bringing this?
Collecting.
He didn't quote anyone here.
Even reading anything from Shoftim forward, you must know that you have.
Well, we're about to start Pesel Micha. That's what we're going to do tomorrow.
It's so easy to say Yerovam was just. Now this gives a whole new context.
The
entire. Everything following from.
And
from the time of David.
So we know how powerfully it always says Chetei Yerovam and how bad it was Chetei Yerovam. The Tanakh itself says that they still do the Cheteim of Yerovam, but it gives a better understanding of Chetei Yerovam were real theology problems, like real, not fake theology problems. They were real theology. But it's wrong to understand this. But I think if we had unlimited time, we'd have to open this up and say, "Wait, maybe they're right." What stands up as opposed to that? And I think part of what he says in the continuation is we have prophets. That's right in the continuation. Hashem says, "I send prophets. I send prophets." Right? He says, "I send prophets." They don't buy their prophets. They did have prophets, but most of them were false prophets.
And they wouldn't have the issue of Beit El becoming Yerushalayim after the dream. After
the turning the ladder 45 Yerushalayim travel to Beit El.
Don't have that issue
but you have to. That's the problem with that statement, and they said exactly afuch. That's right. They would laugh at that. They would say you're appropriating Beit El to your Yerushalayim. It's really our Beit El.
Where the land folded and.
Can.
Wow.
Tov. Bezrat Hashem. Bezrat Hashem. So, Purim's, I'll see you tomorrow.